everybody. For those who don't know me, it's Mike Hall from ThinkSMART Marketing. Thanks for joining our webinar today. You would normally see Claire, but she's taking some time off. So I said I would chat with Pam. So I'd like to introduce Pam from Social Media Solutions. Pam, great to have you along with us. We've known Pam for quite a while. She knows all things social. Pam, do you want to do a bit of an intro to yourself?
Yeah. So obviously my name is Pamela. My company is Social Media Solutions. It's been going just under 8.5 years now. We were actually going to have a party to celebrate on the 26th of March, but obviously that's been put back. And that's all I do. It's just social media. So I run workshops, I do consultancies, reviews, hand holding, management. And I don't do anything from websites or anything like that, but I literally do all the aspects around social media. Big drive around tracking results, and also helping clients with understanding how to use it best, or if they outsource it, what exactly that they're giving away for somebody else to manage on their behalf. So yeah, I've worked with all sizes of businesses. I have a lot of one-man bands, startups that come to the workshops, and then I also have at the far end of the spectrum working with a company that does underwater sonar equipment for special forces. I work with engineering consultants, and my largest clients being the NHS. So I cover quite a lot of sectors as well.
Cool, thanks for that, Pam. And I think one of the things we wanted to pick up on today was just really how you can get the most out of social, and some of the pitfalls that people fall into. And I think one of the biggest things that we've noticed, Pam, is that, what are the biggest challenges that people are facing now when it comes to knowing what to do when it comes to social?
The biggest thing that keeps rearing its head during the last few weeks is we've not got anything happening. We don't know what to post. It's been a real sort of issue, and I think a big part of that comes down to, and I mean, we've worked together, Mike, haven't we, is that people don't plan. They kind of sit down on a Monday morning, have that panic where they go, I've not posted anything, what do I post? So the messages that they're sending out there tend to be more reactive rather than a bit of a strategic approach, and they're not looking at what really is going to be of value to their clients. So all clients have pain points. It doesn't matter, as you know, which part of your marketing you're looking at. You need to look at what you're selling to your clients in terms of the benefits that you offer them and that you're selling to them, rather than the actual product or service. A lot of the social media I see as well is just selling. There's a sort of 20/80 rule. You're meant to be sort of demonstrating maybe your products or saying what clients are saying about you, or industry news, not just going, buy from us, we're great. And there's an awful lot of that at the moment, where people are just, I think again, it's panic, and people haven't reviewed how their clients' issues have changed during the course of COVID, because obviously what was happening beforehand isn't happening now, or might have changed, and that has to be reflected in your social media. And for a lot of people it's not. Or the other extreme is people have just disappeared off the radar, which is also not good, because you need to keep your brand present.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, actually, because I think certainly one of the things that we've noticed is that people's needs have changed. Yeah. And this is about, I think, maybe people going back to the customers and asking them what are they struggling with, and where are the challenges, which then you can then reflect within your social, can't you? Because people have been conscious of, I think you say, not wanting to be seen as being selling, but I think at the same time that, we all have to go out there and represent ourselves as businesses and keep ourselves out there. But it's key, isn't it, to start asking your customers as to what they need and what else could you be offering to them?
As awful as the whole situation's been and continues to be, and there's a lot of companies really struggling, it's a really perfect excuse to go a bit old school and pick up the phone, and actually have those conversations with clients. And the other thing that it's worth doing while you're having those conversations is actually asking them which social media platforms they're hanging out on. I know we've joked about this in the past, haven't we? That you get clients and they go, well, I'm on all these platforms, and you go, why? Well, my mate told me I really need to be on Facebook. And it's like, but who are you selling to? Who is your target audience? And you go, well, they're not going to be on Facebook. They're going to be on LinkedIn, for example, if you're selling more business to business. So it's actually doing your research and not assuming that you know what your client wants and needs. It's actually having conversations, and picking up the phone is quite nice as well, because it cements those relationships rather than it just being digitally done.
And I think that's a really key point about asking them about where they are, because it is, isn't it? It's that bloke down the pub says, I use Facebook and it really works for me. So they go and try it and it doesn't for some reason. but it is because they're not asking. I mean, I think I was, I mentioned this to a few people that, if you're going to try and talk to my mum, you think you're going to get her on Facebook or Twitter, she can't even switch her phone on, never mind social media, because it's not the right demographic. So you'll get her through the post, and that's something I'll pick up with my, next week when we talk on print and things like that. But it's so vital to know where your audience is in order for them to even be seeing the messages. Yeah.
The other thing with it, and it is my pet peeve, is people will ask you to invite all your friends to like the latest Facebook page, business Facebook page. And LinkedIn as well. You can now, you weren't able to do this this year actually, but you can invite people to like your company page. And people do that without actually thinking about what value that product or service is going to deliver to the people that are getting invited to like it. And you actually are shooting yourself in the foot, because the way the platforms work is based on the engagement levels. So when you like and share and comment, or you're getting that on your posts. So if you're inviting, say, your mum, Mike, and you're a business in, just for argument's sake, up in Scotland, and you're a local baker's and only deliver locally, her liking you on Facebook, she's not going to interact with that. She's not going to use that. You're targeting the wrong audience. So Facebook will look at it and say, well, it's great that you've got 1,000 followers of your page, but only 2 people are actually engaging with you. So what you're putting out there is not quality and people have no interest. So you go down the rankings. Whereas if you only have maybe 10 people that are quality and they actually are all engaging with you, and you get, well, not quite 100%, but almost 100% engagement level, you will come far higher up in the recommendations when people are looking for pages and businesses like that. So it's a percentage engagement level that you should be looking at, but people get fixated, whether LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, on the numbers. And it just doesn't do you, it's actually, you think you're winning, and actually you're slowly but surely making it worse and harder for yourself.
And is this around maybe people not understanding exactly how these platforms work? Is that one of the key things where people struggle? It's almost assumption that anyone can do it, but actually there are certain things you need to get right as a business to get your fundamentals. I'm not necessarily talking about a plan at this stage, but understanding the mechanics of how these platforms work and how you can use it the best way to get the results.
There is definitely an element of that, and the other problem is that they keep changing it. So the algorithms that sit behind it, so the mathematical formula of how LinkedIn or Facebook or whoever says that's quality content changes all the time, and they don't put out an announcement. But there's certain things that, within the industry, I've connected to an awful lot of people that do what I do as well. So we have conversations and see what's working and sort of case studies. And things like with LinkedIn now, LinkedIn's got wise to the fact that people just are trying to get people to like and share posts. So when they put a post out, they tag a load of people in them. And those people might like that post, or they might share it, but they'll not put any comment in the comment box. And then you won't get the same amount of reach. So for those of you that don't know, reach is how far your post travels, how many people see it. What they're looking for is longer engaged commentary that runs in the comment box below. So not just great meeting. They actually, I found it really valuable and I thought this was good or whatever, and somebody then coming back and a conversation taking place. We're seeing that the reach of those kind of interactions on posts are far, far greater than just be attended. So, but it's a knowledge and it's an understanding. And in my case, I'm a bit of I am actually a geek now.
You are a geek, aren't you? Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. It's taken a while, but I've got that and I've embraced it now. But it's understanding that. And the platforms tend to work pretty much the same across the board. But it's knowing those changes are happening and then responding to them as a business as well, and realizing that just posting doesn't work or just tagging doesn't work.
Right. I mean, we were chatting before that, the whole social thing is about having, it's part of that marketing mix. So it's just not one solution. It needs to be formulated in a thing, but it's like anything, having the fundamentals and a plan in place to get that. And that might be engaging with an expert, whoever that might be, to someone to really tell you how all these platforms work, so that you've got getting off on the right foot effectively. Because I guess it's so easy to try something, as we alluded to before, it doesn't work, and so you throw it out, you throw the baby out with bathwater kind of thing, because you've not got the results. So, and is there part of this that people don't necessarily know what to ask in order to engage with the right social media person? Are there some things that people need to be thinking about or chatting about? Oh, Rob's just said, sorry I was late, Mike. I was with a client who was splendidly talkative. No worries, Rob. No worries, Rob, at all. You're more than welcome.
Yeah, if you're going to outsource it, you need to know one, how it fits within your marketing mix generally, because it is, like you're saying, it's only one bit, and you need to get your branding right. You need to know who you're wanting to talk to and all that. You then also, if you are going to give it to somebody, you need to actually ask them, have they worked in the industry that you're in before, and can they show you the kind of results that they've got? You know, ask, and don't be afraid to. People are really kind of like, oh, social media, it's a bit of a black art. It's not. But you need to have people that are willing to show you and say, well, we've worked with this, and these are the kind of campaigns we work, and these are the analytics, the insights of what actually happened on the back of that. The other thing I would suggest is that you even just have some basic training on what it can and can't do. But don't give it to the person in the office that you know they're on their phone and they're on social media, and sort of put them all together. Just like, obviously you guys go networking, I'm guessing, and I know you do, Mike, you know, and you choose your networking events with a certain amount of, you know, strategy around them. Is it the right target mix and all that? Like, what kind of messages am I going to put out there? And your social media should be the same. And if you give it to somebody that might spend all their time on TikTok or Snapchat, that's very different from a social aspect to actually promoting your business. So you need to let the person who's doing it also know what it is that you want to communicate. So you have to do some research, whether you outsource it or not. You have to do the basic groundwork, like I presume for all your marketing that you work with your clients. You have to do. There is no way, there is no fast, easy solution. You have to put the groundwork in, and then either outsource it or do it yourself, but then stay involved as well.
So that actually brings us then talking on to about content and the sort of content you should create. But again, it still comes back, doesn't it, to getting your messaging right? Because what we promote as ThinkSMART is having a consistent approach to everything, so that your messaging are consistent across all your platforms. And before you start chucking your social out there, probably chucking is not the right technical word, but, you know, pushing your social out there, then it's about, isn't it, having the messages right, and that you are having consistent messaging across everything that you do. And, you know, that's where we help business on the messaging side. So that, you know, links with your content. So you're going to talk about, you know, your key messages and all that kind of stuff. But is there an issue as well, do you think, where people, and we touched on it right at the beginning of this, where there's a bit, I'm really not sure what to post?
An awful lot of that, an awful lot. And the problem we also have, I mean, I don't know where everybody is on the call here, where they've come from today, but one, we're British, so we don't like to blow our own trumpet. It's not very good. And if you're from Yorkshire, you're really scuppered, because you're definitely going to do it. But there's
I'll just put a foot in there that I'm not from Yorkshire. I'm a Lancastrian, and I'm just going to get that out there now. So that's
you see, I'm an incomer as well, so I can get around.
We're okay. We're all right then. Fine.
But there are platforms out there that can help you with that. There's also speaking to your clients, actually asking them. And when people ask you something that you just go, well, I know it because that's what I do. They don't know it. So those are kind of questions that you can then put out there and you can answer, or you can demonstrate, whether it's in an infographic. You know, mixing up the content and the way that you deliver the messages is also important, because it keeps it fresh. But there's also then sites such as answerthepublic.com, which is I love it. Again, in a geek, it's great.
Is that guy still on there with the beard when you put the question in and he pulls up on your face?
No, the trawler fisherman guy's gone.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, someone else is it.
It's a younger silver fox with piercing blue eyes at the moment, so I'm waiting to see who comes next, actually. But you basically
okay, yeah. Another one you mean.
For those of you who don't know, answerthepublic.com basically trawls the internet for the very questions that people are asking about whatever topic it is that you put in. So you get 2 free searches a day based on the IP address that you're using, and you can type anything in. So if you type social media in, it will then bring up a chart, and it will break it up into what, why, when, who, how.
Yes.
And it will give you all the questions that people are asking about that topic. So it's an absolutely brilliant way if you're thinking of blog content, post content that you can then use to plan into your content strategy. And then also what you're doing as a business should fall in there as well. You know, I know we're not at the moment, but are you doing exhibitions? Are you launching a new product, a new website, a new starter? Have people been around? Because what's happening in your business is just as important. People buy from people, don't they? You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's filling in all those little bits. But Answer the Public is a genius website.
Yeah, it is good. And I think people have got to get away from it's not all about them as well, is it? To some extent, it's about, you know, adding value where you can. So, you know, we put stuff out there where it might be a link to a download document, it might be a link to a giveaway, which you can then start to automate, things like that. So it's about adding value, isn't it? But I've seen as well that if you make it kind of personal as well, they can have some really good reach. You know,
personal reach, yeah.
I've had two really good ones. One was me getting married 30 odd years ago with white glasses, which I think quite a few people have seen, and it made a few people laugh, but it got so many likes, hits, comments, unbelievable. And then when I posted about being on went to Live Aid and put my pictures up on there, that got a load of reach.
Yeah.
Putting on about chocolate bars, which was your favorite chocolate bar, that got a load of reach. But I put something else up and it'll be nothing. So I think it's that mix, isn't it? And getting that balance right.
It's getting the balance right. It's showing a little bit of you. If you can tie it into your business as well, even better. You can put the odd random post out. What you have got to be mindful of is the platform that you're putting it on. So some people, and there's still a big tranche of these, you know, LinkedIn, they're quite LinkedIn purists. So you need to be mindful that the odd one like that might be okay. But if that is the majority of the feed content that you're putting out there, that can alienate people as well. And then the tone that you use with it. So the messages might be the same, but how you would say it on Twitter, or Twitter, you've only got 280 characters. But how you would say it on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn will vary, because what's acceptable in terms of the etiquette is slightly different. But it's social. The clue is in the title.
Yeah, yeah.
And people forget, and it's conversations. It's not just you putting out your posts. Say that I saw the Live Aid one, which was brilliant, and you think, wow, long time ago, you know. But it was the commentary that went with it underneath, and the fact that you're responding. It's just like if you go networking and somebody talks to you, you tend to talk back. That is what we do.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just an online version of that. So, and if you have somebody who takes that and they know the tone for the business, that can then come back in the messages, and it's then supported in your marketing material, and it does the whole aspect.
Yeah, and if someone doesn't feel comfortable at writing content, because it's not everyone's favorite way of doing it, you know, you might be able to on a video something and transcribe that because you find that easier. There's people out there who can help you with the content, but the ideas and what you do, even though you might not think it's relevant, still can have a great value.
Yeah, yeah,
and it's kind of those people's job, isn't it, to tease that out of you.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's also then recognizing, I've just noticed in the chat, there's a, you know, the stats and everything.
Yeah.
The stats are different for every business, and it's dependent on your audience. But you need to sort of take a baseline measurement really, and then see that the stuff that you're doing is impacting in the right way. And if you look at which posts work, so Facebook's really good, because if you go into the insights, which is where their analytics sit, they will show you, you know, this is the post that you put out, when you put it out, what format it was, and who you're reaching, and then how the reach works. And you'll see a natural sort of up and down progression. And then you can see which ones work, the timing of it, did that work? Video might work better. And then you want to just gradually, post on post, just see it go up. And then ultimately what you are looking for is it's inquiries. You know, is the content that you're generating. Entertaining is one thing. Like you're saying, Mike, it's about making sure that you're giving it in the right way for the maximum amount of people to really enjoy it, but then you want to take them to that next step and make an inquiry, or like your page, or download a document, or whatever it is. But you should set yourself, when you start out, achievable sort of aims and reach. On things like Facebook as well, if we have any sort of anybody in here that's got a bit of an inner stalker in them, you can watch what your competitors are up to and see how they're performing without actually them knowing about it. There's software out there that allows you to do that as well, and see what is going to be working, so you can set yourself some targets, but make sure that they're achievable, and make sure that they're not going to, if you don't achieve them, that it's not going to demotivate you. I mean, I don't know what you get from a marketing perspective, but I get a lot of people that come and say, we'd like you to make our video viral. If it was that easy.
If it was that easy, we'd be on a yacht somewhere, not doing webinars. Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, as you say, I think it's easy to get discouraged with this kind of thing by trying to set something that's an almost press the button, I've done it now, wait for it all to come in. It takes time, and what we've noticed as well is that, you know, people are watching your content. They might be commenting or they're looking, but they're seeing, you know, they are seeing things. And, you know, I've met people who say, oh, we see you've been really, they've never commented, but they've said they've seen us. So people out there do watch a lot of things, don't they? So it's about having a structure, isn't it? A structure and a plan, and getting it all working together. Does that answer your question, Mike, on the stats? He's nodding here. Brilliant. Fantastic. I've got a thumbs up from Mike, so that's all right. Thanks for that. But Rob's going because he's struggling to hear and he's going to watch the recording tomorrow. So, yes, there will be an email going out tomorrow with this recording on. Just conscious of sort of time, Pal. We've been chatting for, a good 20 or so minutes. What really sort of top tips can we give people to start thinking about to what they need to be doing really if they to get making sure they're on top of their social?
On top of their social, I first of all would go back and just check which platforms you're on, and does that tie in with the audience that you're wanting to reach, just as a standard. I would then also make sure that your branding is consistent across all your platforms. And there's been masses of changes that have come. LinkedIn, huge raft of changes at the moment, which is, again, keep me really excited because there's lots of things that you can do, but there's masses of changes on your profile. You can feature topics now and posts and do all those kind of things. So I would take the time to go back and review. It only takes maybe half an hour. Review that your social media is, one, the right social media platform for your clients or potential clients, and two, that you are using everything that's on there, that you have filled out all the bits that need to be filled out. And then I would say take time to get your content planned, and then chunk down the bits that you're going to do. So if you're going to share client testimonials and you're going to share them as an image, use something like Canva, for example, which is a graphic design package, canva.com, and do a whole load of them in one hit, because it'll take you less time than going in and doing them individually. And and mix up your content and see, and then go back and measure it. It's what I would, as a starting point for people, is what I would do. And I would also, if you're not sure, check out your competitors, because you're not actually reinventing the wheel. And I would always maybe look at local competitors by all means, because there will be regional differences, but go big. You've got a global sort of research tool in front of you. And if you're comparing yourself to, I know there was a printer on here, so I don't know if that's Mike. You've got people like Heidelberg out there and people like that are massive. They will have a massive marketing budget behind them. Check out what they're doing, which platforms they're on. And they're not copy and paste kind of, I'm not talking about that, but take a bit of inspiration from the kind of content that's actually working for them. And can you use that? Even if you share sort of industry news, similar details to them, but put a spin on it and make sure it's relevant to the UK market, obviously.
I think, what we found really helps as well is taking maybe a day out to do your content. Yeah. So rather than, I think one of the other things that people can fall into is, as you said, Monday morning, what do I post? Oh, hang on, something else has come up, I'll go and do that instead. And it tends to be very reactive. But what we found is having a day where we can sit down and brainstorm all the sort of stuff that we want to talk about, then we'll go and do it, and then schedule it all and post it. That kind of works really well for us. And then, it's also about being reactive as well, isn't it? Yeah. It's not just about planning, it's actually going in there and being reactive, and as you said before, commenting on other people's content. Yeah.
Engaging. Don't just be somebody that just posts it out there. Engage and I'm a huge fan of, you only need to spend 15 minutes a day on the platforms. Once you've got, like you're saying, your content planned, you've maybe scheduled it. There's scheduling software. If you're doing Facebook, schedule it in Facebook, because otherwise they have a bit of they're not very big fans of you using other software. But on LinkedIn for your company page, your personal profile should maybe be more in the moment. But certainly on your company page, use something like Hootsuite or Buffer. There's loads of scheduling tools out there. And then, like you say, Mike, so you've got your messages, your core values, your messages going out on a consistent basis, and then mix in odd sort of spontaneous posts just to break it up, and then comment on what other people are doing and interact with other people as well. And that will massively raise your profile quite quickly.
Yeah, I think it's just thinking about that, isn't it? And then not being too afraid and not being too worried about what other people think when you post things. Within reason, obviously.
All I would say, unless your businesses rely on it or are in that business, sports, religion, politics, big no, right? Because say if you're in Sheffield, it doesn't matter which team you mention, you're going to alienate 50% potentially of your audience. So unless your business relies on that, just stay clear of it. Yeah. The rest of it, if you would say it in a normal business meeting or networking event, then it's pretty fair game, and just react. And if somebody was going to ask you a question, just think how you would respond and talk like yourself. Don't try and sort of shoehorn in phrases and everything because people want to come across a certain way. Just be natural, be yourself, but check the spelling. you know, because that does send sometimes the wrong messages out there. And if you do press the post button and it's a mistake, go back and edit it.
Yeah. I think the key thing when you said what you said there is authentic, you know, be authentic.
Yeah.
And I think we've always tried to be, you know, it's got to sound like the person it's coming from and not forced.
Yeah.
You know, one of the biggest things I learned was when we were working with O2, that when we used any word, any language, it had to sound like Sean Bean. And because that was the voice of O2, and if it didn't sound like Sean Bean was saying it, don't do it. That was literally your benchmark.
Yeah.
So there'd be no for withs and therefores and thereafter. You know, all that kind of stuff. It had to be authentic. And I think you can try and force yourself to be something you're not, because ultimately you want to pick the phone up to these people and they want to sound like you've just sound the same, don't they? Effectively, that's what we need to do.
They do. And interesting enough, actually, I'm not a huge fan of outsourcing your personal profiles. Company business size is different, but you're certainly on LinkedIn, because there's nothing greater than seeing somebody be commented, or somebody in a real situation saying, I love that article that you posted, or I loved your comment about whatever. And you can actually see the person thinking, oh my gosh, I've not checked what they said they're going to post out there. And it comes across, you automatically have people on the back foot. So being yourself and genuine, it builds relationships. And then, like you say, when you actually pick up the phone or you meet them, and don't be afraid to do that. I think that's the other thing, is work at getting them, whether it's meeting you at an event that you're holding or whatever, but get them offline, build the relationship that you've already established further on, and have your marketing obviously back it up full scale.
Yeah, so it's all part of that mix, isn't it? So we've covered off, you know, pretty much quite a bit of stuff here. So just going back to the measuring thing. Yeah, how to measure these. There's certain analytics within platforms, isn't there, that you can use your measurements for? Or there are some other external ones as well, aren't there, where you can hook things into? That might
you can. I mean, Facebook's quite good. Facebook's got a huge, if you go into the insights bit, there's it brings up certain standard ones, but then down the left hand side it's got a whole raft of how you can break it down even further. So that's well worth checking out. Twitter isn't too bad either, for those of you that use Twitter, and within the Twitter tool itself. And LinkedIn is a little bit more hit and miss, but there are, then, like you mentioned, Mike, there's third party sort of sites like the Hootsuite and the Buffer and everything that will also give you some additional analytics. I use something called Sprout Social, which is
that's the one I was thinking of, and I couldn't think of the name just at the top of my head. That was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, and Sprout Social it's a pay. You have to pay. There's no entry level sort of with that. But I will run reports for people if they want to have a look at what's happening. But it gives you quite a lot of detail as to which posts are performing well, how your competitors are performing, if that's what you'd like. There's a whole raft of information out there. But it is just set your targets, do what you're doing, go back, measure, and then maybe you need to just tweak your targets. And it's like you mentioned earlier on, it's not a one post, it's going to hit, it's going to do it. It's a steady, consistent approach. And that's really key. It's just being consistently there and making sure people see your name.
Yeah, and I think at the minute that's more important than ever, isn't it? It's about keeping out there, keeping visible, and keeping regular posts going out. And I think, you know, the biggest thing that we can push on the back of this is actually, you know, is doing it all with a plan. We you know, whether it's a content plan, a marketing plan, it's about doing that. And we know that because we asked our audience what they wanted. And the biggest thing that people struggle with by far is not having a plan, which is, you know, we found that through social. We actually did it through polls. So we put polls into Facebook groups. We did things on LinkedIn, asking people what they want. And that's another great thing you can use over social as well, is using the polls and that's in there. So that helped us then develop the 4-week course we created, which actually gives you all the content for your online plans, your content plans, and everything else that we've done all on a Trello board. And I'll pop the details in the chat later, and it'll be in the email that goes out tomorrow. But to give you that fundamental base, which is key. So it's about getting the foundations in place to then help you then know that you're doing the right marketing, making sure you got the right messages to go out, and you're doing it with a plan. That's the biggest thing that we find that people don't do. It's a very much spray and pray kind of approach and hope it works.
It is, and it's you've got to be really honest with yourself as well, and set your targets maybe a little bit low to start off with, and say, I genuinely am only going to post once or twice a week. Better to say I'm going to do once or twice a week than say I'm going to post so many times every day, because it's not sustainable, and it'll just get you disheartened, and then you'll not do anything, which is kind of, you know, shooting yourself in the foot. And within that plan, say, right, I'm going to do some that are covering maybe client testimonials, some that are going to give information, some that are going to be a product, whatever it is, and then mix those up is quite important. At the moment, an easy win for anybody is COVID in terms of actually posting stuff out there. Keeping your clients. Have you got procedures in place? Are you suddenly back in the office? Have you started going out to see clients? Because everybody's dealing with it slightly differently. So keeping your audience aware of that is a really easy starting point in terms of coming out with content that is relevant, but is also going to be of interest to your potential audience and your clients. And if you are visible and open for business, and your competitors are open and not visible for business, you're going to get the first look in. Not necessarily going to get the business, but you're going to be that bit further up. And it's that planning, but planning in things that are also on relevant at the moment is really key. And not so plan so far out, but make sure you sort of look at what's happening in the next weeks and everything as well to make sure it's relevant.
So have a good content plan in place. And it's getting some fundamentals in place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's been really useful, Pam. Thank you. If anyone's got any other questions, please bob them in the chat box. We've had a few. Kate, Canva is really easy to use. It's really good. I know Jen uses it a lot. Very helpful to use. Pam, how can people get a hold of you? It's written on the screen, isn't it? If you wanted to spot, I didn't spot
all this stuff. I'm just going to put the LinkedIn profile in the chat box for people. I also, just you saying about Canva, actually, I heard, and I haven't had a chance to look at it, now they're doing video kind of and social media animated posts that you can use for it. So it's becoming more sophisticated as well. So it's not just one image with some text on it or whatever, it's becoming better. So it's well worth checking out.
Phil, thanks for your question. LinkedIn Sales Navigator, worth it? How to get best results?
Want my honest answer? I don't think so.
You say again, sorry.
I don't think it's worth the money. I don't think it's worth the money. There are ways that you can do some of the things that are offered by LinkedIn Navigator. Where it is good is you get more searches. So if you're going to do a really focused search and you're going to massively up the amount of searches you're doing, that's great. What you can do is you can do the 30-day free trial and really say that's what I'm going to do in that period. If you then don't take it further, they will then give you options, a bit like Sky, to come back and try it again. The flaw with Sales Navigator is that people think I'm paying between, depending on the exchange rate, 50 to 60 quid a month. It must be giving me extra value. I will give you one top tip here, actually, that is still available. And even though Microsoft have bought LinkedIn out, they have at the moment said they're keeping this as an option. If you are connected to somebody via being in the same group as them, okay, you're not a first connection or second connection, you can direct message them within the group. Okay, so you don't actually have to, if I wanted to get hold of you, Mike, and I can't get past Jem and she won't put me through and I can't get a return on my emails, if I'm in the same group as you, I can actually send you a message that way. And I would then always say, I would always have had a look at what the person was doing, maybe interacted on some of their posts so that they already were aware of me. And then I would send a message in the group. I'd compliment them on the fact that, you know, I like some of their content, or we're in the same group, and give them a reason to come back to me. Whereas Sales Navigator gives you so many free email messages or in messages, and people just send it to somebody without having actually built up that other person's awareness of them. So the take up on it is far lower. So you can do the other bit and get a better result. So Sales Navigator, very expensive, unless you're really going to use it. Or if you're in the recruitment industry, then I would say yes, you know, but for most people, you're not going to get the value out of it to, you know, that you need to for the price.
Hopefully that answers your question, Phil, or gives you some thoughts on, well, give me a thumbs up on the screen, so that's all right. Brilliant. Has anyone got any other questions? Can I unmute everybody or not? Can I just, I'm not sure how to do all that. No, best not fiddle around with it. I might do something I'll regret on here. But if anyone's got any other questions, pop anything in the box. If not, I think hopefully we've covered everything for everyone to have a good think about. There'll be an email that will go out tomorrow, which will have a copy of this video on there. Next week, I'm interviewing the lovely Mike Roberts, who's sat up there. We're going to talk about the flip side, and we're going to talk about everything about print. And as we know, you know, it's very much a mix between, you know, social media isn't the magic bullet. Print's not the magic bullet. It's about having it all together and with the plan, and that's the key thing. is having a plan in place. So we'll be talking about all things, and Mike and I will probably rattle on for ages because we're both really old and we've been in this industry a long time. But it'll be entertaining, which is true, isn't it, Mike? We've been and seen quite a lot of things. Brilliant. But I'd just like to say, Pam, thank you so much for spending your time.
You're welcome.
It's been really good. Hopefully you guys have got some value from this. If you've got any questions at all, you've got Pam's details there, or you want to follow up with anything, drop us a call, drop us a message, or whatever it might be. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. The email will be in your inbox tomorrow, and hopefully you can join me and Mike next week when we're talking all things print. Thanks for your time, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Nice to meet
Cheers.
you guys.
Bye-bye.